Ew, a face reveal. Hello, everyone. Let's talk about two of the biggest games of 2025, specifically in terms of their potential to be Game of the Year. And we're talking about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and Donkey Kong Bananza. There's no real reason to compare these two games, they are wildly different, except for the fact that they are huge games released in the same year. Let's start off with Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This game came out in April 24th, 2025, and this game kind of came out of nowhere. It was a new developer that had not made anything before, and for me it came out of nowhere. I was not following the development. I had heard of it before, but there was a lot of buzz around the release date. The game comes out and I was able to grab a physical copy, and immediately I love it. As you can see in the background, I am a huge Final Fantasy VII fan, and I love a lot of the Final Fantasy games. And so this game definitely harkens back to old Final Fantasy games, the turn-based system like Final Fantasy VII and Persona, although I'm not as well versed in the Persona franchise. And I really love it. The things that stood out to me were the story, and especially the writing, the characters, and the music. And I really love the game. It's one of those games where you just get that kind of high feeling. You're like, yes, finally a game that I can get home from work and just dig into for many, many hours at a time. In terms of enjoyment, I really love the game, but I had a few qualms. It's really me just kind of nitpicking at it, because I want to emphasize that I really deeply love the game. But for me, in terms of enjoyment, I'll just get into it. My two favorite characters were Lune and Gustav. Spoiler alert, by the way, if you have not played either Clair Obscur Expedition 33 or Donkey Kong Bananza, please stop the video and come back later after you've played it, if you so choose. So if I had to choose between the two characters, my favorite character would be Gustav. I feel like he is the heart and soul of the game. I love him. He's lovable, he's likable, and I really love that dialogue, that opening dialogue between Mael and Gustav. It really sets up everything that is to follow. And there's that one thing that Mael says. She kind of makes a joke at the expense of the people who went before, like, oh, look how well it turned out for them or whatever. And then Gustav goes, hey, no, we need to respect and honor those who came before us so we can, build a better future for those who come after. I really loved his character. I don't know, maybe after the first act of the game, he exits the game. And if you've played it, you know what I'm talking about. And for me, it took a lot of the gas out of the game, a lot of the momentum, a lot of the energy. For me, there was like a one-for-one swap. Gustav exits, and then they literally at the same second, they swap in a character that I just don't like. I never liked. Verso. He comes in at a pivotal moment in the game. This is probably a topic for another video because I could go on and on, but never liked Verso. I just found him suspicious, deceptive. He's like a trickster. From the second he enters until the very end of the game, I never liked him. I understand this is what the developers wrote. This is what the writer wrote for the game. And they had to follow their hearts for what they wanted in the game. There's this feeling of they kind of shot themselves in the foot, in my opinion, because A, they made a really lovable, wonderful, great character in Gustav, and B, they cast Charlie Cox. They cast a really good actor in that role who brought him to life in a really wonderful way. So when he exits the game, for me, it's a real bummer. And I understand the game has really strong themes about death and grief and depression and dealing with that grief. And I understand that. And death is an inevitable part of life. And I understand all that. But for me, in terms of a gamer playing this game, my enjoyment, it takes a real dip after that first act, after Gustav exits the game. So unfortunately for me, like, that's the hiccup I have when thinking about this game. And keep in mind, again, overall, I loved the game. It's not like I stopped enjoying the game altogether. It's just, it takes a lot of the gas out for me by the time Gustav exits the game. And in terms of replayability, I tried replaying the game, and then I got to Stonewave's cliffs, and then I knew what was coming, so then I stopped because I didn't want to proceed any further. So that's really my biggest issue with the game in terms of my enjoyment. Now let's get to Donkey Kong Bananza. Donkey Kong, just real briefly, I'm a huge fan of the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Donkey Kong Country Returns or Tropical Freeze. That's probably a topic for another video as well, but I think they're solid games. But for me, they just pale in comparison to the original trilogy. I really love that original trilogy. So we get to Donkey Kong Bananza. I think when they announced Donkey Kong Bananza along with the Switch 2, I think a lot of people were expecting a sequel to Super Mario Odyssey. I was a little disappointed that I was like, really? A 3D Donkey Kong game? Because I wanted a sequel to Super Mario Odyssey. So they released that direct a little while later, specifically focusing on Donkey Kong Bananza. And me and a lot of other people were really excited because they were showing things that were in the game, such as the transformations, Pauline and her songs, things like you can collect things in the game and spend them on to get items, you can switch costumes, etc. There's a skill tree, a lot of things that made me excited for the game. So the game comes out. I start playing it, the beginning is a little slow, and the game, obviously, it picks up eventually. By the end of the game, I really loved the game. I was just completely in love with Donkey Kong Bananza. Keep in mind, spoiler alert, I said it once before, I'll say it again, but spoiler alert. I got to the end of the game, and it was such a treat to bring back, spoiler alert, King K. Rool and the Kremlings, to see all the Kremlings in 3D. It was such a treat. The musical throwbacks, it was amazing. It was so fun. It was really fun. Gangplank Galleon and all that stuff. It was so cool. And I'm really grateful that the developers of Donkey Kong Bananza gave the fans what we wanted. The villains for Returns and Tropical Freeze, they were fine, but I think people really wanted that return of King K. Rool. And they gave it to us, and it was so fun. I've been listening to Gangplank Galleon on repeat for, ever since Donkey Kong Bananza came out. Here we are. We have two games at opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of genre. You got a JRPG style French RPG, turn-based, with next-gen graphics. It's $50, which is also amazing. Also, I forgot to mention that the story of how Sandfall Interactive came together and the story of how that group came together and were able to develop this game is amazing. Check that out if you haven't yet. And then you have Donkey Kong Bananza, made by Nintendo. And Donkey Kong has been around since 1981. It has gone through many changes in the format of the game. Donkey Kong in 1981, it was very different from 1994's Donkey Kong Country. And there was Donkey Kong 64, and now we have a brand new 3D Donkey Kong game. How do you choose? Now, before I get to that, I wanted to pose this question. I should have done this before, but I'll just ask it now. Does Game of the Year matter? In my opinion, a short answer, no, not really. It's just one of those things that exists. It's just there. Best Picture at the Oscars, I don't think it really matters. It's just one of those things where randomly my brain will go, I wonder what won Best Picture in 1984. I'll Google it and I'll be like, what the hell, like, and then get angry for the rest of the day. Same thing with Game of the Year. Like, I'll look up 2020, what won Game of the Year? Like, it's just that thing that's there. And it's very subjective. Most people don't agree. A lot of people do agree, but it's just one of those things that exists. So how do you choose Game of the Year? By the way, I heard, like, Doom the Dark Ages was great. I'm mildly interested in it. I'm not huge into FPS, just to be honest. And then I heard Split Fiction was really great as well. So these two games, you have Nintendo's big kind of flagship, the big Switch 2 release. There was Mario Kart World, but now we have Donkey Kong Bananza, and it was a huge release. You have nostalgia going for it. You have decades of Donkey Kong. And then you have Sandfall Interactive coming out of nowhere, releasing this really beautiful, really wonderful, unique throwback to, old school turn-based RPGs. For me, in my opinion, I know it's recency bias speaking, but I would give, right now, as of the recording of this video, I would give the slight edge to Donkey Kong Bananza. I just love it so much. I also love Clair Obscur, but I have some hang-ups with that and some enjoyment issues. Like, replayability is huge for me. I love games that I can just, like, pick up and play over and over again. Donkey Kong Bananza, I can already tell, is highly replayable. I think a lot of the Donkey Kong games are. The original trilogy is really replayable. And for me, Clair Obscur, as of right now, it's not a game that I can play over and over again. At least not right now. Maybe with some time and distance, it will be. But right now, like I mentioned, I got to Stonewave's Cliffs, and I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'll move on to the next game. But for example, I played through Bananza. I got to the end, and then I replayed the entire franchise. Well, not the entire franchise, but starting from Donkey Kong Country, then Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3, followed by Returns and Tropical Freeze. I played it all. And now I'm back. I restarted Bananza last night. So that's where I'm at. Like, this is where this game has taken me. It's taken me on this huge Donkey Kong journey. It is kind of unfair because Nintendo has nostalgia on its side, and it has a lot of money, a lot of decades of profit, and a lot of history there on its side. But it's using it to its advantage. And Sandfall doesn't have that. Clair Obscur doesn't have that. For me, as of right now, I choose Donkey Kong Bananza. It's a wonderful game. And replayability for me, it gives it the slight edge over Clair Obscur right now. 5-10 years from now, I think Clair Obscur is going to be the standout game. Donkey Kong Bananza is a wonderful game in a wonderful franchise. And that's how people are going to think of it. But there's a lot of Donkey Kong games, just like there's a lot of Mario games. Clair Obscur is just, I feel like it's going to be that game that people talk about 5-10 years from now. It's going to be like, man, Clair Obscur is an awesome game, and it came out of nowhere, and the music's awesome, and the story's awesome, the writing's awesome. But again, as of right now, I have to go with my heart of gold. Get it? And choose Donkey Kong Bananza. But let me know what you think. Let me know what other games are on the horizon for you for Game of the Year. I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and say hi to your pets for me.